We have some very tragic news to report. It appears that Senator Scalise, the person who was shot in Alexandria, Virginia today in a baseball game, will be dying, or if he hasn't already died. A Jesuit woman shot a Republican senator today, this morning, during a baseball game. This was a Loree McBride Jesuit, not a Gail Cord-Schuler Jesuit. She's a big fan of Kathy Griffin, too. So Loree McBride and Kathy Griffin are behind this murder, or these murders. The Republican and Democratic senators were playing a baseball game. Steve Scalise was shot in the butthole. It damaged his anus. And Terrance was telling me on Skype that it's a good thing the shooter was female, Gail. She unloaded 50 to 60 rounds at close range, but because she was a woman, she missed almost all the shots. She was inspired by Kathy Griffin's photo, where Kathy Griffin took a photo of a decapitated Trump head. Terrance said women are not very good at aiming guns. Terrance is really good with guns. He grew up in a Compton ghetto in California, so he's good with guns. I said, is the shooter still alive? He said, yeah. The media is reporting that it was a white man because of feminism. I said, so this Republican senator is still alive? Well, he was when I was interviewing Terrance. He may be dead now. His butthole and anus were severely damaged. The Jesuit woman claims that she was just exercising her freedom of speech performance art. She's saying that she's only getting treated harshly because she's a woman. That if a man shot up all the Republicans in the stadium, that it wouldn't be such a big deal. This woman Jesuit shooter, Loree McBride and Kathy Griffin supporter, also claims to have developed post-traumatic stress from shooting the AR-15 and wants a refund because she was told that it would be an automatic weapon. I have a link underneath here to show you how the mainstream news is reporting this. It's not quite accurate. They don't have the identity of the shooter correct. And Terrance was saying if this was the good old days, we would have just called her husband and let him know what she was up to and sent her home so he could punish her. He would strike her with a thin wooden rod or take away her allowance. But now women have to be equally prosecuted like men. And this killer was just angry at old white men and hated Trump because she felt like he grabbed her by the pussy with his words. And she thought doing this would garner praise from her liberal friends. And Loree McBride aligns herself with the Democrats and the liberals, by the way. Loree has been supporting these women. That's Loree McBride, the current evil Jesuit leader, telling them that all the problems in the world are from white men. And I said, well, how many females follow Loree? He said there are more women than men that follow Loree, but Loree has a lot of beta men that tag along and follow the women's lead. And I have a pretty good link that describes to you what beta men are like underneath this video. Check it out. So Terrance went to deliver flowers and a teddy bear to Senator Scalise while he was still alive, and he was crying and puking in his puke bucket. He's so upset about this because he's been the judge in a lot of, I think the judge in a lot of the cases we've had against Loree McBride, and he hasn't had much luck because she's successfully using the women's rights arguments in court while she goes around killing everybody. I said, how many people did this person kill? He said, pretty much everybody she was not aiming for, which meant every single Democratic senator. She was aiming for the Republicans, but she accidentally shot all the Democrats. And so this senator's anus is really badly damaged. Kathy Griffin is a horrible woman. She's responsible for this. She's encouraging women to be violent towards white men. And Kathy Griffin is a Loree McBride Jesuit. Every single Democratic senator died. She missed every shot. She was trying to aim for the Republicans, and she accidentally hit all the Democrats. This happened at a baseball game this morning in Alexandria, Virginia. Bernie Sanders is okay because he leaned down to take a bite of a pudding cup just as the bullet flew towards him. So when I say all the Democratic senators died, I'm meaning those who are clearly Democrats. I got this information from Terrance Jenkins on Skype. He Skyped me about this because he's really upset. The woman who did this is insisting that if a man shot up a stadium, it wouldn't be a big deal, and that we're singling her out because she's a woman. So she accidentally shot all the Democrats while trying to shoot only the Republicans. I said, how come this Loree McBride Jesuit is alive? Aren't we executing Loree McBride Jesuits? I mean, they've been doing a lot of killing. They're basically responsible for every major terrorist event that has happened on Earth since the Angelina ballerina was defeated on January 6, 2017, including, you know, all the stuff that's going on in England, all the bombings and stuff over there. So she's put this killer who killed Senator Scalise is petitioning the courts, saying she deserves special treatment as a woman. When she realized that she would be treated equally under the law, she insisted she wanted to be treated the old-fashioned way, which would mean someone would call her husband to notify him of what she'd been up to. Then they would send her home so that he could punish her as he sees fit, which would involve being struck with a thin wooden rod, so she would have to make him a sandwich after. And unfortunately, the courts are considering this. I said, but her husband would be an accomplice. He said, yeah. He said the men involved with these feminists are usually beta males, which means he would probably just punish her by watching her have sex with a black man while he masturbates and films it, and while she tells him that he's not a real man. I said, why are so many Loree McBride Jesuits still alive? Why haven't they been executed? He says they're tying up the courts with women's rights petitions and appeals. He said the violence really escalated when Kathy Griffin took that photo with the staged beheading of Trump. And then she blamed all the backlash on old white men that have always kept her down. I said, did any Republican senators die? He said, nope. But Senator Scalise was shot in the butthole, and we think he may be dead at the time I make this video. I said, it's really funny that mainstream news is covering up the death of all these Democratic senators. Were there any others besides Democratic senators who died? He said, nope, just them. He said, but the mainstream news doesn't know how to handle the PR. I said, how has Loree McBride responded to this? Well, they're just blaming it all on a white man. And also the woman that did the attack says, like I said, she said it was a form of free speech art, and she's suing the makers of the AR-15 she used because she said she was under the impression that it was an automatic weapon, and that she suffered post-traumatic stress from shooting it and killing all the Democratic senators and Scalise. And she's basically a Kathy Griffin follower. And I said, what happened with that, high-rise apartment in London that caught fire? That was all an accident. So apparently, even though Loree McBride's a pyromaniac, she wasn't behind that. Someone left an iron plugged in. By the time they remembered, they rushed back home and the whole building was on fire. So Turan says people just need to be careful about these things, I said, next big question. With all the Democratic senators dead, how are they going to handle this? Are they going to be replaced with automatons, or is Loree going to clone them? Turan said he's not sure, but maybe because they want to do another game tomorrow that we may end up using automatons of them. I said, is this shooter really suffering from post-traumatic stress just because she shot the wrong senators? And Turan says, no, it's just a trendy thing for these liberals to say. I said, how does she feel about what she's done? Her real feelings, not what she says, because we can get emotion reads with our 21st century technology. He said, she issued a real fake-sounding apology, Kathy Griffin style, but our scans indicate it was insincere. Her motives are just pure, bitter selfishness, the kind only a feminist woman can develop. So Turan's called it a very Jesuit apology. I said, and then Turan said, oh my goodness, the doctors tried their best, but Senator Scalise will never poop again. It's so horrible. He's saying goodbye to his family now. I said, are you watching this on Gabriel Chanafox? He said, this makes me so angry. I said, people on YouTube need to know it's so horrible. So this senator's basically telling the world his last goodbyes. Is there any way for me to get footage of him saying this right now? Turan's tried, but the stream wasn't copying, and we think this was the work of the Jew clones. Loree created them to help her make up for not having Zach, computer master, on her side. And he was saying, honey, the doctors say my anal tissues are too damaged. That means I'll never poop again. Senator Scalise's eyes welled with tears. His family erupted with sobbing. But you'll die if you can't poop, his wife said, shaking and pale with sweat going down his face. His whole family started crying, and his little kids didn't understand. His little kid, he said, but can't Daddy just sit on the toilet and push out a poo-poo? No, Johnny. Daddy's butthole is broken. Daddy will be leaving us soon to be in heaven, where he'll be able to poop all the time with the angels. And then the camera crew left them so that Senator Scalise could die in peace. If he hasn't passed on, he probably already has, folks. So he was holding his poop when he was at the game because he was a busy senator, and then when he got shot, he had tried to hold it as much as he could. But he's so damaged in there that once the poop comes out, he's basically going to die of toxemia because he can't poop. I said, I'm just curious, how many people have the Loree McBride Jesuits killed since January 6, 2017? Tarrant said it's been pretty much every major event, like that bombing in England at that woman's concert, Young Singing Stars concert. All the women all blew up bombs in their vaginas, but Loree McBride was behind that, and her Jew clones. The women did it to try to get sympathy for themselves as suicide bombers. And the Jew clones were involved because they wanted the Muslims to be blamed for it so they could sue the Muslims and get rich off of lawsuits, claiming that if this had happened in Israel, it wouldn't even make the news, saying it was a form of anti-Semitism, because Muslims were blamed for it and it made worldwide news. But if it happened in Israel, it wouldn't be worldwide news. And these Loree McBride Jesuits are just blowing smoke so they can take advantage of people, get rich off of other people's sufferings, which they cause, and then they go around killing people and not be punished for it. I said, this is unbelievable. If Zach Knight was in charge of the Jesuits, there would have been some executions of these Jesuits by now. He says, yeah, but they're trying to be tried as if they aren't equal to men, and that's how they're getting away with it, Gail. I says, Loree's really going to town with this women's rights crap. He says, well, they want to have equal rights, except they don't want to be punished for their crimes with equal rights. He says they want to be tried for it the old way, where the husband metes out the punishment. And Tarrant explained what that was like. It sounds to me, I said, like evil women just have everybody intimidated. Hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. And Tarrant said he had to get his puke bucket. He was taking a lot of breaks to throw up while he was telling me all this. I said, yeah, Zach was puking when he saw what Loree McBride did to Brent Spiner when Angelina captured Brent. You'll hear about that when my book, Bible for Tribulation Saints, comes out, or when our video about that comes out. Disgusting. He says, well, I said, I'm the Empress. I think they should be executed for this. He says, well, they call you an Aunt Tommy, the feminist equivalent of an Uncle Tom. I said, what's that? It means they refuse to acknowledge you as the leader of women. I said, so what? I'm the leader of this country. He said, because you don't think that it's a good idea to kill all the white men, I said. He said, they do this, they put the same accusations on Trump. I said, when I say Loree McBride Jesuits, I include the white men. They say, not my president or not my empress. I include all the beta men who are also Loree McBride Jesuits and are her accomplices. And I'm sure some of these accomplices are white men. So it's a bunch of crap that they're saying that I'm picking on, that I'm only picking on the women. I said, yeah, but they don't identify as white men. I said, well, under conspiracy law, people are judged by motive. Because we can read their motives with our technology. Going by that, we win our case. As Jesus once said about some Jesuits, they're blowing smoke, folks. These women need to be executed. And the men, and all their accomplices. Okay? This is disgusting. Zach Knight came to Jesus on September the 1st, 2016. And then Angelina Ballerina led a band of rebel Jesuits to rebel against Zach Knight. And she's been bringing up all this women's rights crap to justify the millions of people she and her Loree McBride Jesuits have killed. Angelina's dead, but the Loree McBride Jesuits are alive. I say, folks, we need to give these Loree McBride Jesuits the death penalty. And if they want to say that their women's rights are being violated, what we're going to do is run a scan on them and on the ones they accuse of being their abusers to see if their women's rights are being violated. And if our scans determine that it has nothing to do with women's rights and that these women are just pure terrorists, they will be executed. And we're not going to let their crappy women's right blowing smoke junk work. Out you go. Take them out.